Hmm, 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 hmm. Boopy, 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 boopy. Well, I guess it's time to start the show. What do you say? We're running a little bit late, but that's never been an impediment to us before. It can be weird not having my big monitor. My monitor ain't working, boys. I don't know why. This is troublesome to me. Try one more thing real quick. Give me a chance to connect the fucking cable. Computer's chirping at me, telling me my cable's not connected. I know my cable's not connected. You want to disconnect it, fucker. Dun, 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 dun. Happy hour, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, children of all ages. I'm here. It is the old double happy hour, and it is time. I got to get that thing off the screen, don't I? Let's clear this. Let's do this. Let's boop that. There we go. Chat works. I am your host for the night, your friendly neighborhood sin merchant, your guide for all things spiritual. Well, your spirit guide, at least. See what I did there? Um, Tonight's weekly, so far it's been weekly, Ukrainian war update, weekly Ukraine update. Let's go that way. I don't want to talk about the war. I mean, it is the war, but the defense of Ukraine, the glorious defense of Ukraine, Slava Ukraini. This has been a shitty week. Not because they're not winning, because they are winning, or at least they seem to be winning, um, but because just Russia's a bag of dicks, is what they are. But we knew they were. So this comes as no surprise, what they've done in the last week. But let's get some housekeeping out of the way, shall we? I am the old humble guy, your goat, your host, your spirit guide, the pickled expert of all things. Well, jack of all trades, master of a couple. I'm a master of a few trades. Your friendly neighborhood polymath, maybe. Is that a fair statement? I don't even know if that's a fair statement. Certainly a serial hobbyist. I could definitely say that. I really wish I say serial hobbyist as I'm like staring at a blank computer screen right here because my main monitor will not fire up and I do not know why. Have I tried unplugging it? No, I have not. Unplug. Give it a few seconds to reset. Unplugged. There it is. See? Give it a few seconds to reset. Damn it. Yeah. You like that? Yeah, you do. Get it up in there. That was tight. Did that work? Do we have signal to monitor over here? Uh, no, no signal. I don't know what the hell's going on. Anyway, so housekeeping stuff. We have a busy week of shows scheduled this week. We have, of course, our happy hours. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, happy hour. We've got, um, let's see, will that do it? Will this give me information? Nope, not doing it. We have our Tuesday happy hour, which is tonight. Wednesday happy hour tomorrow night. Tomorrow night. Okay, so tomorrow night, I was not planning on doing the show that I'm doing tomorrow night. But I got to thinking about pie because I did pie last week. The marvels of pie, the wonders of pie. And I said during the show that if I had a circle and I knew the diameter, and if I knew the diameter, if I knew the radius, if I knew the radius, I knew the diameter. And if I knew the diameter and knew the circumference, and I divided the circumference by the diameter, I would get pi. Every single time. Every time, no matter what. If it was a big circle, if it was a small circle, if it was a, well, that's the only two kinds of circles. Big, no matter how big the circle was. And then I was thinking to myself, well, somebody had mentioned to me uh, uh, something about flight paths in the southern hemisphere and how there are no flight paths in the southern hemisphere. Actually, there are flight paths in the southern hemisphere. He said, no, there are no flight paths in the southern hemisphere because everything's too far away from itself. They have to go north and they come back south. I'm like, no, that's not true. That's so pi makes the world go round, literally. So tomorrow night I'm going to discuss. This isn't a debate, as never a debate. We're going to discuss how pi informs us that the Earth is actually a globular-shaped object. You know, more casual observations of the world around us, casual observations of nature and science that explains the geometry and geography of the universe around us, local geography and cosmic geometry of the world and the universe. So that's going to be tomorrow night. It's another Flat Earth episode. Well, it's another explaining why flat Earth, the flat Earth model just simply cannot exist. It does not exist. It does not fit observational, just casual observations of the world and universe around us. It just doesn't fit. And then Thursday night, we're going to do another round of our classic trivia. Everything's far away from me right now. I can't reach anything. Our classic trivia, 1986, circa 1986 trivia game. So we're going to do another round of that. 35 boozy bucks are on the line. First place 20, second place 10, third place 5. They are non-transferable, but you can forego your winnings and declare them for another if you wish. I suppose we can do that. What else? Big update on the trivia nights. Trivia nights are going to go live to the distillery very soon. We're hooking up with a company called Pub Trivia that will be providing us trivia questions and trivia answers and trivia materials and trivia everything. So we can do trivia in person as well as online. So we will have both live and online teams playing. You can be by yourself or a team online. Same prizes, 20 boozy bucks, $20 gift certificate to be shared among your people. Let's see, does this, if I hit the button, not that button, what button was that? This button. If I hit that button and tell it to, what if I just do the PC screen, then I tell it to extend, will it extend? No, something weird's happening and it's not extending my monitor to the new monitor. I don't know why it's doing it. So we'll stop doing that. I'll just stop trying, I guess. Tomorrow we will have a day in the life of the distiller video, and it is a very special episode because I will be actually running my stills for the first time in a long time. I'll be running one of my stills. We will be making gin, not whiskey, but gin. We'll be making gin, and it will be amazing and delicious and awesome and fantastic. It is a platinum medal winning gin. And it is called Flower Moon Gin, and we distill it at the distillery, and it is fantastic and amazing and awesome. And if you're around, you'll want to see it. If not, don't. That's fine. Maybe we'll, I don't know, discuss some of the stuff that we discussed tonight. Maybe we'll pre-discuss some of the stuff that we're going to discuss tomorrow night. I didn't even mention the last piece of the weekly quadrangle, quadrille. Yeah, I think that's quadrille of shows. Quad. I think quadrille is the proper term that I'm looking for. I don't even know if that's an actual word. Let's look it up real quick, shall we? Quadra. I think it would be in my head. I picture it as Quadrile. Quadrille. It's a dance fashionable in the 18th and 19th century. Quadrille. Quadrille. A square dance. No, that's not what I'm looking for. A list of 4 items. A synonym for a list of 4 items. That's what I'm looking for. SYNONYM. Synonyms.com. Synonym for a list of 4 items. List of 4 items. What is a word for a list of 4 items? Shit burgers. Well, I think quadrille is the word that I'm looking for in my head, at least. That's the word I'm looking for. Anyway, the 4th item on my list, I guess it's actually the 5th. So it's the quintessence, whatever. The 5th show of the week is our Friday Night Live, the centerpiece of our entire existence right now. We have a live music show on Friday night. This week we have the Kimbros performing live. Music starts at 7. The stream will start sometime around 6:45 probably. We'll do a little banter and chatter ahead of it, and then boom, in come the musicians. We have a really cool guest at the distillery as a merchant, vendor. We'll have a really cool chef cooking up some crawfish. We'll try and get everybody on camera, a little opportunity to chat and sell their wares and promote themselves, as well as the Kimbros themselves. Maybe get a brief opportunity to say hi to the actual artists this time around. Something we have not yet done with regards to our Friday nights live. And then, I don't know, it's picking it up. It's just not sending the signal out. I don't know why it's not sending the signal out. Like it's recognizing that the thing is in the hole, but it's not sending a signal through the cable to the monitor. I don't know why it's not doing that. Technical difficulties are bothering me tonight. I've had a very busy day running back and forth and doing shit. Yesterday I had to drive all the way out to Cypress Cedar Park and back, so I was on the road all day yesterday, and this morning I had some more errands I had to get done this morning, and it was just, everything was just like intense, and I've been kind of running around and like pushing paper and pencils until about 6 or so. Cheers! John Jacobs is in the house. Welcome to the party, my man. So yeah, the battery on my computer kind of ran down, so I think that's probably why my monitor's not working, but I don't know why it's driving me absolutely bonkers. Driving me absolutely nuts. But the whiskey works. The whiskey always works. I do have a major announcement for retail. If you live in a neighborhood where there is a Total Wine here in the Houston metro area, our Double Oak Straight Rye will be coming to a store near you. We have added 12 stores. We have added 12 stores to our retail network, 12 Total Wine stores. And we will push all of that product out over the next 4 weeks through May. The last part of April and into May, we will push all that product out as fast as we can, and then turn around and get it into all the stores in the state of Texas and hopefully add to their network. Thank you very much, Mr. John Jacobs. Hopefully we'll be able to add to that network in other states in the coming months and weeks. Let's see if we can try this with the monitor one more time. I keep thinking if I turn it off and turn it back on, I've unplugged it. I've unplugged both of the wires, both of the cables, the power cable and the HDMI cable. I've unplugged the HDMI cable on both sides. I've unplugged. One thing I haven't done, uh, and this is actually going to affect our signal probably. Uh, I don't want to do that. I was going to say I haven't. What I haven't done is unplug the harness, which connects it to the computer. But if I unplug that harness, it's going to unplug my um, actual LAN line that's going, my LAN line that's going to the computer. If you can't tell, I'm putting off talking about the Ukraine update for the week because it was a shitty week. It was just a shitty week. Last week we had reports of the early stages of reports of atrocities, genocide, civilian death, uh, just war crimes, alleged war crimes left and right, as they were withdrawing from towns, um, unsubstantiated as of the airing last week, but in the days since, they've been very substantiated. At least the actions have been substantiated. Whether or not they rise to a level of war crime, that's a legal determination, and I'm not a legal. Lisa's the lawyer. I'm not the lawyer. They're disgusting to see, civilians bound and gagged and shot and all that. It's gross. It's gross. It's morally gross, and that's an understatement. But the good news over the last week or so, the Russians have withdrawn from the west, pulled out of the north, and they're regrouping in the east. We know that they're regrouping in the east. We know that an offensive is being planned in the east. We know what they're up to. Mariupol, the major city in the south, or the south and the east, that is in between Crimea and the Donbass region. That's the city that they've been pounding and pounding and pounding and pounding and pounding and pounding and pounding, basically turning that city to rubble, killing a significant number of civilians in that city. Not all of them. Many of them have gotten out. But they're doing a number of, and that's kind of the Russians' MO. That's what they did in Gorky, not Gorky. Gorky is not the number. The capital of Chechnya over there is not Tbilisi. Tbilisi was the capital of Georgia. Grozny, that's the one I'm thinking of. That's what they did in Grozny. They basically, after they shit the bed on the first rebellion, they came back. They shelled it for a while. They attacked it for a while. They went in and out for a while. All the civilians kind of went to the hills, and then they basically came in and said, as a military response to putting this thing down, they said, look, if you're in the city, we're going to consider you a combatant. Anybody can retreat, but you have to retreat towards Russia, which was very much a forced resettlement of people into Russia. And then they leveled the city. They shelled it to the ground. They leveled it, and then poured a shit ton of money into rebuilding it. Set up a governor, did all the stuff that they do. So we kind of knew that was their MO. We kind of knew, serving pie. We kind of knew their MO. We knew what they were up to. We knew what the next stages were going to be. We knew what they were doing in Mariupol. We did not think they would have the balls to actually drop and utilize chemical weapons, because that is a gross violation. And this is the thing that I don't get. I never really appreciated this. Never really accepted, never really understood it. They're okay. Like, the international community is okay if you kill 10,000 people, just so long you keep the killings limited to like 100 a day, and you do it over the course of 100 days. They're fine. Or 1,000 days. They're fine with you killing, 100 people over 1,000 days. They're cool with that. They're cool with it. Or 100 people over 100 days. They're cool with that. They're cool with it. But if you go and kill 10,000 people all at once, oh, well, now the international community gives a shit. They didn't give a shit if they killed tens of thousands of people in Syria, but as soon as they start dropping chemical bombs, Well, now we give a shit. That's a red line. You can't kill 1,000 people at once. You have to kill them 25 at a time, like we do in our high schools. That's a tolerable and proper, appropriate amount of killing. So anyway, I don't know what the fuck's gonna happen now. They're saying unsubstantiated reports as of, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours ago that it was still unsubstantiated. I don't know how unsubstantiated it still is. Uh, um, X, what? You hear much about the exodus of the Russian people? Exodus. Um, Exodus. I think you mean Exodus. Is that what you mean? Exodus. Exodus. Exodus of the Russian people. There are a shit ton of people leaving Russia. That is true. That is something we don't hear a lot about, but we kind of hear trickles of it. People in the South leaving Russia, going to Georgia. People in the West leaving Russia and going to Europe, leaving the western part of Russia and going to Europe. People in, well, of course, people in Ukraine leaving Ukraine and going into Poland, and speaking of people leaving Ukraine, Putin's still on his shit about the Ukrainians and Russians being one people. They're not one people. They used to be one people. They came from the one tribe of people as they came, one group of people, one group of Vikings as they spread out. They were a unified nation at one point. They were a unified people. They used to be. But they're not anymore. They're culturally unique. They have their own language. They have their own country. They've been an independent country for over 30 years. There's people fighting in the military that have grown up never knowing Ukraine uh, as a province, as a republic within, as a non-independent country. They're full ass grown up people, full grown ass adults. It's not, and I hear people repeat that shit. I'm just like, you realize when you repeat that shit, you're literally just repeating Russian propaganda. That's what you're doing when you say that Ukraine's government is fascist. When you say that Nazis are running the military. When you say that the city governments are Nazis and fascists, and the local, they're committing genocides and they're committing atrocities, and that it's the Ukrainians. Every time somebody repeats this stuff, they're just word for word repeating literal Russian propaganda. Um, and it boggles my mind that there is a whole fucking news network in the United States that has talking heads on their network being paid American money that are repeating this stuff. Boggles my mind, boggles the imagination, absolutely boggles the imagination. But I said in the description that it's not all bad news, and it's not all bad news. Ukrainians are getting tanks, they're getting anti-aircraft missiles, they're getting armored personnel carriers. They're Germany, the company Metalcraft, I think is what it was called, the company that makes German tanks, the Leopard 1, I think is what it was, the Leopard 1. They said that they are ready to ship those to Ukraine if the government gives the green light. The United States has stepped up reinstated the Lend-Lease program, which will make it easier for Ukraine to get weapon systems. Now, the challenge, of course, is that they need to be trained on the weapon systems. You can't just, dump a jet and say, good luck. They have to know how to use the jet. They actually have to know how to fly it and stuff like that. Spare parts and things like that, pilots. The small issue of pilots and stuff to fly jets. But that's good news. All this stuff is good news, giving Ukraine the opportunity to not just be on the defensive and defend territory as they're falling back, just putting a hurt on Russia in their own self-defense, but actually being able to turn the tables and push forward. They've reclaimed land in the last week. They've reclaimed land. They've reclaimed homes. They've reclaimed territories. Part of it was because Russia was pulling out, but part of it is because they've actually gone on a full-on offensive in some regions and taken back towns and taken back cities and captured Russian forces. So that's all. In fact, from the reports that I've read, there were at least 2 strikes inside of Russian territory, which is, good and bad. You got to take the defensive strategy only works for a while. You eventually have to go on offense, and you have to push them to want to settle for peace and not just sit back and let you accept their terms. They have to eventually, I presume, take the fight to the Russians. U.S. is working to get them the ones they are already. Yes, that is true. They are. That is 100% true. Slovakia and Polish. Actually, I think Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia all have American hardware at this point. But Slovakia, Poland, and a couple other countries that still have the Eastern MiGs and Su 32s or 75, whatever the fucking Russian jets are. Those are the jets that Ukraine uses or has in their inventory or had in their inventory. I don't know if they still have them. And the United States is working behind the scenes, feverishly behind the scenes, on a swap program where they get rid of their MiGs and the United States replaces them with whatever F-16s or F-35s or polecats or tomcats or bearcats or gemcats or whatever the particular cat is. But man, I know I'm not the only one. When you see those long damn convoys of trucks on the roads, you see those long damn convoys of trucks and armor and tanks and all that shit just lined up on the roads. I know I am not the only one who would just love to see a group of like 10 A-10 warthogs flying down, just ripping a straight divot right down the middle of that road, and just dividing those trucks full on in half. My microphone. I just realized my microphone is not plugged in. Y'all can hear me fine because I can see my audio coming through. I don't know where my audio is coming from. It must be coming through. I don't know what it is. Whatever. I'm gonna plug in my microphone because this is better audio. Give it a second. It's gonna make some noise and click over. And we have audio. I know I'm not the only one that would love to see just a formation of A-10s just coming down, just going, brrr, and just the sound that an A-10 makes. It is poetic, just absolutely beautiful. Just the gun, just like flying down that highway. There's a convoy of trucks there, a convoy of tanks, and like you see the little drone footage, like the convoy of tanks, and then you see the warthogs just zip right across the screen, and then you see a line of dust and smoke, and then when the dust and smoke ends, all you see is like shattered chassis and wheels tossed off to the side, and a bunch of Russians running around with the yakety sax playing in the background. Yeah, that'd be a good time. That would be a good time. But yeah, they don't get A-10s. I guess they're not allowed to get A-10s. But boy, that'd be the shit to see, wouldn't it? Yeah, that's true. Hopefully, it doesn't get bogged down in red tape. That's the thing about red tape. Uh, re- if they're trying to build a bridge or a highway or school or subway or whatever, there's red tape. There's environmental things to double check. There's dots to put over I's, T's to give crosses to, jots and tittles, and all the stuff that they need to check and double check and triple check and make sure that the stakeholders aren't being disaffected and all the stuff that needs to be checked. But when it comes to if they want to forgive student loans or whatever, there's got to be a committee meeting and a discussion about it and everybody's got to talk this thing to death until people forget about it, and they come back and go, oh yeah, that thing we were talking about 16 months ago, we're going to do it. When it comes to missiles and rockets and tanks and jets and shit like that. When they want to drop 20 Harvard scholarships worth of bombs on an airfield, boy, they can get that shit done like that. When they want to do it, they can get it done fast. All the other stuff they want to do, that's going to take years to figure out. But when they want to blow up something, when they want to blow up a thing, or they want to destroy, take down a building and blow up a thing, or blow up some tanks or whatever, when they want to do that, they can get that done fast. That's one thing that you can count on. That when they want to sell some missiles, when they want to sell some tech, when they want to sell some blow uppy, explodey stuff, yeah, they want to build a school. No, no, no. We got to think about that. We want to build a hospital. We got to think about that. There's a reason we don't have healthcare. We don't want to be spreading healthcare all around the world because we don't do that here. We don't want to be doing it there. But you want to lose a leg? We know how to lose legs 100% of the time. Here, have some Coca-Cola, some diabetes, and some cluster bombs. We can do all that shit. We do that shit in a weekend and get it done. They're good. Um, but yeah, there's politics and stuff like that. I get that too. They're kind of slow walking the whole notion in order to not be seen as excitedly jumping into another war. I appreciate that. I don't want to see them eagerly and giddily jumping into a huge conflict, but at the same time, if if the promise to join NATO is enough for a country to get attacked, not even the promise to join NATO, the intent, the long-term goal for a country to join NATO is enough for them to get attacked preemptively, then that should be enough for NATO to defend them. I mean, if Ukraine wanting to join NATO was enough provocation. I mean, hell, Sweden and Finland said that they want to join NATO. And what does Russia go and do? They go and move units to the border with Sweden and Finland. I mean, this is a pattern of behavior at this point. They're going to get their asses handed to them in Sweden and Finland. If you think Ukraine's giving them some shit, Sweden and Finland's going to give them some shit. Finland's done it once before; they'll do it again. But their militaries are and economies are much more integrated into Europe than Ukraine's was. John, you are carrying chat, and I appreciate that. F-14's guns sound more like yep. But I mean, you've seen the videos with the A-10. You may have been in an A-10 at some point. I don't know. But when you see those big, Coke can size munitions flying out, they go bird. The bird gun. Yeah, it's a sight to behold. Sound to hear too. That's a fucking thing. And just seeing those giant armored machines just cleave in half. Oh, it's beautiful. It doesn't actually cleave in half. In my imagination's eye, it cleaves in half, but it doesn't actually cleave in half. It just explodes properly. Anyway, some really good news out of Ukraine. Some really, really, really great news out of Ukraine. And it's not even out of Ukraine. It's out of the European Union. The family that I know that lived in Kharkiv, right at the beginning of the hostilities, right at the beginning of the war, right before it started. Let's go back to December. Right before this is how I met him. He fabricated a die for me for stamping metal, and the package came to me from Kharkiv, Ukraine, and then the war starts, and I had lost contact with him after February. He was a vendor transaction, nothing
I wanted to do more business with him. I just hadn't gotten to it yet. And then the war starts, and I'm like, oh shit, this dude's in Kharkiv. He has his family, he has his shop, he has his business, he has everything. I shoot him a message at the beginning of March, and I don't hear from him for 2 weeks. I finally hear from him after 2 weeks, and he says that he and his family had gotten out of Kharkiv, made it west. Everything was up in the air. He didn't know about a shop. He didn't know about tools. He didn't know about anything. Um, he just knew that he and his family were safe in the western part of Ukraine. And then a week or so later, I reached out to him again in late March. Uh, and I didn't hear back from him until a week or so into April. And I found out that he was, and he tells me that he was safe in the European Union. He was safe in the EU, uh, and he was settling down in the EU, where they had taken up residency. He was going to set up his shop, and everything was going to get ready to go. So the really good news coming out of Ukraine is the one family that I know, one family that I know in Ukraine made it out safely. They got the fuck out of Dodge, made it west, made it north, made it into the EU. Uh, I did not ask him where he was. It was an electronic communication. I did not feel that that mattered. I just was just glad to hear that he was safe and out of the damn country. Um, so there we go. There, that is the really good news that we got. Yes, Sweden and they did. Sweden and Finland did just bump up on their military. Uh, yeah, and Latvia, Lithuania, Montenegro. Uh, there's a whole bunch of little uh, and Montenegro. That was the country that Putin specifically told the former guy to use as an example of, well, if Montenegro were to attack Russia and Russia were to counterattack, is that should we put risk all of NATO on that, on Montenegro, on little Montenegro? Um, I mean, the answer is yes. Yes, you do. And also that Montenegro had no. It's just the dumbest thing. Fucking that guy. I swear to God. Anyway, to Sergio, thankfully you got out of town. So you and your family continued safety and well-being. Um, I look forward to meeting you in person, my good friend, um, or my friend. I look forward to meeting you in person. I am glad to have had the opportunity to correspond with you, and hopefully you'll get out. You'll be safe and sound in your new home, and hopefully you'll have your old home to return to when the situation gets safe to return. So, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed for you, my good man. So that's what we know right now from the last week, and that's what we know is that the atrocities that were rumored were very much real. That we don't know if they rise to the level of war crimes. They seem to have, based on information we have received, that they were intentionally targeting civilians and that they were intentionally uh, from intercepted phone calls, intercepted radio communications. We know that they were intentionally targeting civilians, or at least it seems apparent that they were intentionally targeting civilians. Again, if it rises to the legal status of war crimes, I don't know. That's not my job. That's way outside of my even basic comprehension of knowledge. But that is that's going to be something to see as it goes forward. Over in the last 24 hours, I think Putin had uh, announced that peace talks had stalled. I think, but that makes sense because it seems that the peace talks were basically a bargaining tool that he was using to stall for time so that he could regroup his forces in the east. Ukrainian forces are going on the offensive in the east. They're counterattacking. strongly working to expel Russian forces out of the east and out of the south. Forces defending Mariupol reports today they have 24 to 48 hours of food and ammunition left. So that situation down in Mariupol is getting dire, but we also have reports that Russia has used chemical weapons. Unverified reports. We don't know for sure what the substances that was affecting the soldiers in Mariupol was, but that's the apparent that's the apparent um, uh, actions that we have seen. Um, and then what was the that I mean that's most of it, and it hasn't been a great it hasn't been a great war's hell. War sucks, and it sucks that the international community is going to have to. I hope the international community takes a serious look at uh, the international structures that have been put in place over the last 80 years or so, because they clearly failed to deter a malignant a malignant national government from doing the unspeakable and unthinkable of, and it's, I say this knowing full well it's not the first time that it's happened. Uh, but at least the last time it happened, when the United States went into Iraq, uh, there was at least United Nations Security Council resolutions on the table that we could cite. They'd violated this one, they violated this one, they violated this one. We are going to enforce the United Nations Security Council uh, resolutions. There's no secure. There's not even a patina of international condemnation. There's not even uh, a surface level uh, dusting of international legitimacy on this. Um, a lot could be said about our own crusades and cavalier invasions over time, but at the very, 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 very least, there was the appearance of true international cooperation and international justification. There was a legal basis, a legal framework, a legal backstop to the actions. Uh, and you can check them off. You can tick them off all the way, going all the way back from Afghanistan to Libya to Iraq to Somalia to you can go all the way down the line. There was a legal justification from the international community allowing giving cover to the action. You can, and there's a whole lot of deeper arguments to be made there for another time because we're running out of time. But there's none of that here. And the thing that the thing that prevents an international legal United Nations backed response is that the country doing it is on the International Security Council, United Nations Security Council. So like the Security Council can't condemn it because the Security Council, one of the members has veto power and the Security Council is doing it. So, I mean, the international community's hands are kind of tied to do anything under the United Nations. But the last time the United States was in a confederation of uh, independent states that gave veto power to every single state and couldn't get anything done because one state would veto anything, we tore that agreement up. We tore that agreement up and started a new one. Um, but that was 300 years ago, 250 years ago almost. So what you can do? What you can do? What you can do is you form a coalition of the willing. You form uh, an international group of like-minded nations, maybe who are in a alliance, a treaty organization, maybe that is centered around maybe one of the oceans, maybe like the Atlantic, but maybe not the whole Atlantic, maybe just the northern part of the Atlantic. So some treaty organization based around the northern Atlantic Ocean, maybe use those guys who and maybe those guys could like coordinate politically and economically and militarily and have a cohesive and forceful response to defend the borders of a nation that has been attacked and invaded by a foreign power. Maybe, you know, um, a purely defensive force to reestablish the international borders as observed and recognized by uh, international organizations. I mean, maybe, uh, just maybe. I don't know. Just spitballing here, thinking out loud, thinking outside the box. Maybe. If only such a treaty organization based around the Northern Atlantic Ocean existed. If only. Um, but again, prudence is winter's great, but nuclear winter sucks. And if you think summer's hot, boy, I tell you what, it gets really, really, really hot the first couple of minutes after a nuclear war starts. But hey, there's a reason we don't have healthcare. We should show the world why we don't have healthcare. If we're going to trade our healthcare for a robust military, well, we ought to use that fucking robust military for purposes that are in lockstep accordance with our values. And our values are more than just cheap oil. Our values are also, at least they used to be, defending democracy, defending free peoples, defending uh, liberal Western style Jeffersonian democracies, or at least nations who are interested in becoming liberal Western style Jeffersonian democracies that are working their way towards that. I mean, it's one thing to invade a whole fucking country and try to set up a liberal Western style Jeffersonian democracy. It's a whole nother thing to have a country right there working towards establishing a liberal Western style Jeffersonian democracy, and we're just like, good job, man, great. Hope that works out for you. I mean, we definitely come in to help you out, but our thing is just like kicking over tin pot dictatorships and making rubble bounce, and then trying to set up nations and establish governments among people who can't fucking read, and then just leaving all our fucking equipment there after 10 years and 20 years. I mean, sorry, bye. Ugh, Jesus. Anyway. That's our thing. We don't go in and, if France gets threatened, we don't go in and protect France anymore. We used to do that. That was a 1940s thing. But we don't do 1940s shit anymore. We don't do, unions and minimum wage and anti-child labor and shit like that. We don't do that stuff anymore. We don't do, middle class and uh, protecting liberal democracies. We don't do that shit. We just kick over other countries' governments and try to install a liberal democracy and then quit after 20 years and go, well, fuck it, sorry. It was fun while it lasted. Good luck, bye. Anyway, what was I talking about? John, what's up? Um, the satellite pics, they are part of the, yes, and that's what I mean. The the actions that have been taken, they know they have been taken. There's no question about the actions. There's no question about the actions. The question is, do they rise to the legal definition? That's the question. Not did they happen? They definitely happened. We know they happened. The question isn't whether or not they happen. The question is, are they legally what that is, or does it not quite rise to that level? Or if it does rise to that level, will they actually be able to pin it on the people who did it? Or will somebody be thrown under the bus? That is more than likely somebody be thrown on the bus. They won't pin it on the person who did it, but whatever. Um, uh, Conclusion. uh, yes, all of that stuff. Launching missiles at hospitals, bombing children, theaters. Hell, they hit a fucking train station in the last 3 days that was a congregation point for people trying to flee west. And there was no other thing going on at the train station. They just hit it as a big fuck you to the civilians of Ukraine. No question, no question about that. So yeah. So we're running right up on the hour time. So I guess we'll just wrap this up. Oh, one cool story that I did see over the weekend though. One cool story. Apparently, what had happened in the lead up to this war, um, the FSB was given millions of dollars to bribe uh, Ukrainian soldiers, generals, commanders, politicians to accept the invasion, lay down their arms, uh, turn their, just like let, do the old Olay action and let the Russians basically overrun the country. Bribes were supposed to have been handed out liberally among the elites of Ukraine in order to grease the skids of the Russian military coming in and taking the whole place over. What happened, however, was the directors and operatives in the FSB just kind of pocketed the money. Didn't do it. Just didn't do it. And then when the lead up to the war was actually happening, because they thought that it would never happen, when it started to actually happen, instead of going to Putin and telling Putin, um, funny story, comrade, uh, comrade president, funny story. Let me tell you what happened. Instead of telling them what happened, instead they just went to the West and told them the battle plans. They gave the information over to Western intelligence sources. Western intelligence services turned the information back over to the Ukrainians, and that way the Ukrainians were able to set up their armies or set up their defensive positions and set up their army in such a way to stop the Russians from actually succeeding. That's why the Ukrainians were always in the right spot, always at the right time, and very fiercely and very strongly fighting. That's why we knew their plans. That's why in the lead up to this war, all through January, all through February, Biden and Macron, and I don't even know who the new prime minister in Germany is. I don't even know. Um, everybody, Boris Johnson, everybody was laying out the Russian plans, the specific plans. Like this is where they're going to go. They're going up that freeway at Tuesday at 7 o'clock. Everybody knew their plans explicitly out loud, laying out their information. That's how they got that information. The Russian intelligence service turned that shit over because instead of passing out the bribes, they kept it for themselves. So the head of the Russian, or two of the heads of the Russian intelligence service, has been under house arrest since the beginning of the war. And one of them has now been thrown into a full-on daily ass rape prison, which I find to be absolutely hilarious. They were like, "Here, bribe everybody." They were like, "Oh, yeah, we'll definitely bribe everybody. I would love a new car. That's great, fantastic." And that's what they did. So I find that to be absolutely fucking hilarious. So bravo to the FSB. Sorry you're in ass rape jail. Sucks to be you, but you should have left the fucking country. It's a shitty country, full of shitty leaders who do shitty things like bomb civilians and destroy hospitals and fuckers. Anyway, all that said, this has been. Uh, I can't even say this has been fun. This is just. It's been a shitty week in Ukraine, but there is hope. There's hope. There's always hope. The Ukrainians are still standing up. They're still fighting. They're still working on getting uh, munitions and weapon systems and everything they need to go on the offensive. Uh, and as long as the sun still rises in Ukraine, it is another day. They can continue to fight, and freedom and liberty and democracy have hope in Ukraine. Um, so, Slava Ukraini, cheers to the Ukrainian people. Uh, may the sun rise again on your country. One more day, one more time, and many, many more days after that. Cheers to all of you. Oh, there we go. And we'll see you tomorrow night, where we talk about more adventures in pie and how it makes the world go round. Literally makes the world go round. These are going to be casual observations that you've made these observations. You just don't know you've made these observations, and I'm just pointing them out. We're not going to be heavy on math. We'll do a little bit of math tomorrow, but not a lot. And then Thursday night we do trivia. Friday night we have live music. Saturday night, Sunday night, you don't want to see me on Saturday and Sunday. But sometime tomorrow or the next day, we will be doing a live day in the life of From the Distillery with the stills running, making gin. You're going to want to see it. It's going to be fun. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be neat. See you when you tune in. Think with your whole brain, love with your whole heart. Cheers. Slava Ukraini.